In the book of Isaiah, chapter 32, verse 1, it says, Behold, a king will reign in righteousness, and princes will rule with justice. So it's talking about a future king who will reign in righteousness. And we know Jesus is the Prince of Peace and the King of righteousness. And he says he will rule with justice. And then he says, A man will be as a hiding place from the wind and a cover from the tempest, from the storms, as rivers of water in a dry place. So this king is going to be a source of hope in the dry place, in the desert. He's going to be a hiding place in the midst of the storms, the tempest. And then it continues, as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Verse 12. The people shall mourn upon their breasts for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. On the land of my people will come up thorns and briers. Yes, on all the happy homes in the joyous city, because the palaces will be forsaken. The bustling city will be deserted. The forts and the towers will become lairs forever, a joy of wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks. So that's talking about a time of desolation where joy will be gone, where the city will be destroyed, where the situation will be hopeless. And then you move on to verse 15. Until the Spirit is poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness becomes a fruitful field, and the fruitful field is counted as a forest. So the Bible says that there is desolation and hopelessness will continue until such a time that the Spirit is poured from on high. And then it says, verse 16, then justice shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. The work of righteousness will be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And it moves on to verse 18 and says, My people will dwell in a peaceful habitation, in secure dwelling places, in quiet resting places, though hail comes down on the forest and the city is brought low in humiliation. So it's talking about a period that the Spirit is poured from on high. And the Bible says it's going to turn around the situation so that now the wilderness becomes a fruitful field. And the fruitful field now becomes a forest. And then the Bible says, and then justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness will remain in the fruitful field. So the favor of God, justice and righteousness will dwell on the land. And then he says, and the work of righteousness. We know Jesus is the Prince of righteousness. He is our righteousness. The Bible says the work of righteousness shall be quietness and assurance forever. So that there is an aspect about quietness, peace, satisfaction, fulfillment that comes from Jesus Christ. His righteousness puts us right with God, makes us settled, brings stability and anchor to our lives. And he says, justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. The work of righteousness will be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And in verse 18, my people will dwell in a peaceful habitation. That's God's plan, that in him we'll have peace. Without him, there will be no peace. That when we are in him, then our dwelling place will be a place of peaceful habitation. That we will no longer be anxious because of his presence. That in secure dwelling places, in quiet resting places, so peaceful habitations, secure dwelling places, and quiet resting places. And he says, though hail comes down on the forest and the city is brought low in humiliation. So there might be chaos going all around us, and yet my people shall dwell in peaceful habitation, in quiet and secure dwelling and resting places. The Bible says, he that dwell under the shadow of he that trusts in God, who will abide or dwell under the shadow of the wings of the Almighty, and who will not be afraid of what's happening around us, because the Lord is our shield. He is our strong foundation. He is our protector. The Bible says his name is a strong tower. The righteous run into and is safe. Thank you very much. God bless you.